give a brief overview of Mist and Apex and their actual integration with Alex and Jupyter Hub. So right now I'm logged into Alex, and Apex and Mist are deployed within that environment as well. Once Apex and Mist are deployed, there's also an extension that can be installed inside of Alex, which basically allows and brings up a menu like this, which users can then manipulate to deploy different notebooks as well as deploy Apex dashboards. So before we get started, I'd like to talk about Mist first and how it works with Jupyter Hub. You can automatically navigate from Alex into Mist, and once inside of Mist, Mist is actually a repository of notebooks within your organizations that people can share. So rather than searching online, Googling, and crawling GitHub repositories, users can actually take all the work that has been accumulated over the years and publish these notebooks inside of Mist. It is not thoroughly just limited to notebooks. You could also publish any kind of code you would like, but the primary use of it today is to actually be used with notebooks and its integration with Alex. The notebooks that are actually published here are indexed completely, as well as every additional library that the notebook uses is also visible and searchable. And this is to allow users to actually be able to search for these notebooks depending on if they're looking for a particular library. I could search for pandas, or I could search for anything that's, for example, Apex compatible, which is another application that works really well with Alex. So you have the ability to do that, and you can also search raw code. So notebooks that are published here have full text search enabled throughout. They're also fully viewable. So you can, if you're looking for a notebook and you've kind of seen something that's interesting based on what you're working on, you could thoroughly review the code here and also look at any tags that the user made when they published it, the modules that are imported inside of it, any machine learning frameworks, data sources, who the owner was and when it was published on, as well as any version history throughout the life cycle of the development of this notebook. This kind of sums up Mist. The idea is that you have a single repository within your organization that your teams can share. Now I'd like to talk about Apex. And as a second step after that, I will show how these two tools integrate with each other. So Apex really is, the idea behind it is to take notebooks developed within Alex or Jupyter Hub from a generic standpoint and have the ability to publish them as live running dashboards. So ideally, the time to value becomes enormous because you are eliminating the process of gathering multiple teams, figuring out the deployment mechanism, how is it going to be hosted, how will it be exposed. The idea behind it is if you follow a slight set of rules when building the notebooks that you have the ability to deploy them where they will appear like live running dashboard, for example, like this one that you can interact with and also manipulate, considering it is a live running dashboard. So the idea is you can do that directly out of Alex here, as I'll demonstrate in a few seconds. But basically you can think of Mist being the repository of information in notebooks, Apex having the ability to serve those. Apex has, when developing these dashboards, there is no limitation to what you can connect to because you're using high-level code to talk to really anything, whether a PostgreSQL database or an S3 bucket, right? And it has full permissions enabled on top of that with who can see and view the data. As an example here, we don't really have that many permissions set up in our demo and test environment. But how does this work at a grander scale together, as an example? Well, let's say I am working on some kind of cybersecurity threat intelligence task. And I come inside of Mist and I actually am able to find a notebook that does that. So as an example here, it's called cyber threat intelligence. Okay, if I take a look at that and say, okay, yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking for. You can automatically pull this notebook down into Jupyter Hub within your notebook server to review it even further. So if I click on Run in Jupyter Hub on that menu, it will automatically open up my Alex notebook server, and it will inject the notebook inside. At which point, so here it is, Cyber Threat Intelligence, which is what we wanted. I can take a look at this notebook, and I can additionally start making changes to how I would like this notebook to be. Maybe I wanted to connect to a different data source. Maybe I want to change some metadata information or some additional code. At that point, once I'm done, I can publish this and have a live running dashboard that I can share with my superiors or anybody else. And it's all as easy as going here. Once you have the notebook open, you can go to Alex, you can say Apex, I want to publish this notebook. At which point it will ask you, do you want to give it any additional information? So instead of calling it Cyber Threat Intelligence, let's just call it Demo, and I'm going to publish this out. So the notebook is being published. It takes about 10-15 seconds to get a response. There's an entire orchestration happening behind the scenes where the notebook is put into an internal Git repository, a container is built, then that container is published into our environment. So it says it's successfully published. So now I want to navigate here to Apex. So I want to go to the user interface and take a look at it. And we should see that there's a demo one, right? So previously we were looking at vulnerabilities assessment, which is this. And this is our demo environment. Now it takes a couple of seconds for the endpoint from a networking perspective to be available, but we can keep refreshing this, at which point this will become available. So now you can see that it's spinning. We give it another 5 to 10 seconds and this environment will open. So let's try it one more time from here. And there it is, Cyber Threat Intelligence Dashboard, which we fetched out of NIST, pulled it into our Alex environment, potentially made a few changes here and there, at which point we have a live running dashboard that we can share with the superiors, which we can, again, manipulate to any certain extent. So hopefully this gives you a brief overview of how NIST and Apex can work with Alex within your organization. Thank you.